Local Women Magazine presents Local Women Podcast, the show for things that matter.
Welcome to the Local Woman Podcast with your host, me, Kim Kelly. Today, I'm going to introduce you to someone who could potentially change your life. She's known as the lady who makes people happy. You're laughing, it's not funny. And she's internationally acclaimed life coach, Deirdre Maguire. She is, now I'm going to read this because there's an awful lot about you that needs said.
Okay.
She's a world-class wellness specialist, mentor, speaker, author, and creator of the Stress Solution System. I nearly said that right. She grew up in Newcastle, County Down, and interestingly, she says that she's so good at her job because she was her own first case study.
Exactly.
Deirdre, you're very welcome to the very first Local Woman Podcast.
I love it. Thank you very much for having me here, Kim.
So, Deirdre,
Yes, dear.
the question I have to ask you is, making people happier, is that possible?
It is actually a skill.
Right.
The reason I know it is, as I say, I was my own first client. I thought that what was normal for me
Yes.
was, a kind of mediocrity,
Right.
actually staying out of pain more than actually being happy. And now today I know it's a skill and you can change your thinking and improve the quality of your own life.
So, how do you define happiness?
I would say happiness is a sense of peace, that you
Right.
have a sense of peace about yourself.
I think people tend to think that being happy is like, yay, I'm happy. No. So that's not happy. Are you talking more about contentment?
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Yes.
Right.
So that you have a sense of control.
Yes.
That you can handle anything. So there are times when you feel really, I feel very grateful and very
Yes.
happy for everything is going my way today. I got all the green lights.
Yes.
And somebody let me out in the traffic.
Love
Oh,
that.
this is really
Love that.
good. Everything's going well.
Yes.
And that's good. And I feel very grateful for that. And then there are all the red lights and the car breaks down. We were
Yes.
talking before we came on air
Yes.
that my car broke down. But that's what I actually noticed. So it happened on Friday. My car just stopped. Just stopped, broke down. I was going to a wedding. So I had arrangements made to get my hair done. I had different things, to organise. But what I noticed was my response to the situation. I was able to stay calm, to stay peaceful, even though this was all going on, because I
Yes.
trained my mind to do that.
And to kind of realise that it was out of your control and that getting cross wasn't going to really help you, and just to sit in that moment.
You see, when you actually really realise this, that you're actually taking responsibility for your own life,
And your own emotions.
your own, that's what it actually
Yes.
is. It's your own emotions. So you're always doing it to yourself. You're actually doing it to yourself. So when you're in the traffic and somebody pulls out in front of you or cuts you up and you're shaking your fist and you're blah, blah.
No point.
Well, what's the point? That guy's
None.
way on.
None.
And you're sitting in your wee metal bubble and you're doing it to yourself.
Yes.
So it's one of the key changes that clients, when they come to me, or people when they do my online programs, the moment where there is a pivotal, I remember when it changed, was when I realised, hold on a minute here, I'm actually doing this to myself.
Control yourself.
Yeah. Well, you actually understand that it's an empowerment. It's a feeling of empowerment because, okay, well, everything's going wrong here and I'm still happy because
I'm still fine, yeah.
Have you heard of the book? There's a very famous book in the personal development world and it's called Man's Search for Meaning. And it's written by a man called Viktor Frankl.
Yes.
And he was in the Second World War. He was Jewish and he was captured by the Germans. And he survived Auschwitz. And he tells this story. And the quote is, between the stimulus and the response, there is a gap. Herein lies our freedom. So the stimulus is the guy who cuts you up in the traffic.
Yes.
And your response to it,
Is you going, meh.
yeah. So between that and that is where your freedom lies. So that is very, very empowering when you get...
You can step into that and just go, it's okay, Mr. Crossman. I'm fine.
And you get to
It's a bit
practice
zen,
it.
isn't it? Yes. I mean, obviously we can't be that zen, but Yeah, it does. I've been sort of practicing this a little bit myself recently with maybe people who don't like me that much. And I've been doing something that I saw on TikTok, TikTok, the font of all knowledge. And it's the let them theory, where somebody's not very nice to you and you just go, let them.
Yeah.
Let them. And it's really empowering. It just washes over you. So someone goes, oh, Nat Kim Kelly, she thinks she's great. And let them. Let them have that opinion. They're perfectly entitled to that opinion. They may be right. So let them think that. And it's the most wonderfully freeing experience. I'm not saying I'm perfect, but I am learning, constantly learning.
The more you practice, the better you get at it.
Yes.
And the gap between the times when you are unhappy because of the circumstances and your ability to be happy, that gets better.
Yes.
One of the other things that you can say is, just like me, this person has known pain.
Yes.
Just like me, this person wants to be loved.
Being the better person.
Just like me, this person has known sadness in their life, and it just dissipates that.
Yeah.
So that you can come back to homeostasis, you can come back to peace, you can come back online. You're actually back, I'm back here, I'm okay again, and I'm online.
So let's go back in time a little bit. Were you happy growing up? I mean, I would have thought you had a sort of standard Northern Ireland childhood.
Well, whatever that is.
Whatever that is.
A standard Northern Ireland childhood.
I know.
Well, I was born the eldest of five, and my parents were working class people with a vision of better, and they worked really hard. And so when I had the opportunity I passed the 11 plus, and they sent me to boarding school.
Which these days just seems outrageous, but of course back then it didn't.
And that really did mean boarding school. You mean you got home at Halloween and Christmas.
How did that make you feel?
So in the beginning, I was an avid reader. So I thought life was Enid Blyton and Mallory Towers.
Me too.
Yeah. So it didn't turn out quite like Midnight Feasts and things like that.
Really not?
Nuns.
No, right. Because that's good to know, because I always wanted to go to boarding school.
Oh, no.
Is it
awful? Wasn't like that at all.
No.
So it was innately lonely.
Right.
And if you can imagine, you wore your school uniform from September till Halloween. You didn't get out of your school uniform.
Right, okay.
You wore your good one on a Sunday.
Right.
And so in answer to your question, I had lots of inadequacies, lots of self-doubt. I was reared by the nuns. And then reared again when I went back to boarding school. So it was just,
right.
So my best coping skills were guilt, shame, not good enough.
Well, I think lots of us grew up feeling like that. Of course, we were very much, you're a little bit older than me, if you don't mind me saying. But yes, a lot of us grew up in Northern Ireland, sort of, we were taught not to boast, we were taught not to show off.
Yeah.
And my goodness, we really didn't. We were taught to keep ourselves, particularly as women, we were sort of taught to keep everything on the low key, really. And so you felt that too.
So I didn't have any confidence.
No. No, and you maybe thought you weren't as good as the other people.
Absolutely. So then what you do is you cover it up. So you cover it up with, partying and drinking. And
so yes, we're getting a little bit older here. Yes. I know this is like ringing bells for me as well. So as you got older, you partied.
Yes.
Because I know I did.
Yes. So I managed to get to university after 2 or 3 goes. And I eventually got there, and it was great. I was up in your end of the country. I was
in the port.
I loved it. New University of Ulster. 4 years of freedom, where all I needed was a duffel coat, a pair of desert boots, a university scarf, and my checkbook.
Wonderful.
You wrote the check for the rent, and the rest of it went.
Were you happy then?
The Anchor and the Chinese. Absolutely ecstatic.
Right, you were happy.
Loved it.
Right, so you
went to America every summer and thought I had died and gone to heaven.
Right, so you were finally, you sort of stepped into being your own person, I guess.
Yes, independent. And yes, I always remember my mother leaving, driving me up and leaving me. 126 Coleraine Road, and we got this house.
I know what that is, yeah.
And I remember my mother crying because it was so emotional for her, because she wanted to be educated and couldn't be because she was the eldest of 10.
And of course, for younger viewers of this, Portrush, you lived in Newcastle, the distance between Portrush and Newcastle may as well have been the moon back then.
The moon.
Because the roads were so difficult. It was like the moon. Like these days you would do that, in 2 hours, 2-3 hours. Back then it was like...
Oh, it was like another planet.
another planet.
And I used to hitchhike. That's how we did it. We thumbed.
So you were totally free. You really enjoyed yourself at university. You stepped into your own power, I guess.
Yes.
Then university ends.
Then
So
it
what
has to
happens?
end, and what do you do then?
I know, this is a
So
problem.
I got my job as a teacher, and I remember sitting one day in the staff room, and it was 11 o'clock, so it was break time.
Right. Smoking as we all did, yeah.
This woman said, "That's a queer day for drying."
And you thought,
I thought,
OMG, is this what my life's become?
there has to be something else.
Yeah.
There has to be more to life than this.
Yes.
So I actually went and applied to be an air hostess. I wanted back to
As you
America, to Disneyland.
Yes.
And I went back to, I went to America as a Freddie Laker trolley dolly,
How
as they
glamorous.
called them.
How glamorous. How
Aye,
how utterly glamorous.
It was class.
But of course, that didn't last either.
That didn't last either because he went bankrupt and
And
they
you
pushed him
went
out.
back to Newcastle.
And I was back in Newcastle. So then I was substitute teaching.
Yes. And hating it.
And completely bored and directionless.
Unfulfilled.
Totally unfulfilled. And
Let me
no
guess what
idea.
happened now. Let me guess what happened now. You got married.
I got married.
I knew it. Is this my story? Yeah, okay. Yeah, so because getting married is always getting married or having a child, always a wonderful way to end boredom
Yeah, that's
for
it.
for about a year.
So, I tried. I was married to a really nice man,
Yeah.
and we were.
Yeah, of course, it's not the husband's fault.
No,
this is
no,
all about
no.
us. This is the Local Woman podcast. We are taking full responsibility.
Total.
We are responsible for our actions here.
My former husband, who's now married to somebody else, is a
wonderful husband, I'm sure.
A gorgeous man.
But it
a
was
gorgeous
you.
man.
It was
but
you.
when you don't have the coping skills, the emotional coping skills,
No.
you don't know how your mind and body works.
No.
You have no idea.
No.
You have no idea. You have no clue. And so I was really, really
Ricocheting
directionless.
about.
I ended up back in my the family business, my
Yes.
parents' business, and as I say now, I know that it was unfinished emotional business.
Yes.
That's what brought me back. And so I was with my parents, and I was supposed to be there for 2 weeks, and I stayed for 20 years, and that's exactly what
That's
happened.
very extreme, Deirdre.
And so then my darling father, he took his own life.
Yes, which is very,
And-
very sad.
Yeah.
Obviously,
So-
that must have had a massive, massive impact on your life. I mean,
So it was
that's a huge
huge.
thing to happen.
Well, it was, it's a turning point. You have various turning points for various reasons in your life. And I'm very happy to say that I am peaceful about that. I learned how to deal with it.
It was his
And-
choice, and
yeah.
and you used your father's death. Well, you didn't use it, but that was the catalyst for change.
Yes, it was actually before it. It was a few years before it because my father didn't do it. My father had all the boxes ticked. He was successful. He had a wife who loved him. He had 5 children who loved him. He had grandchildren who loved him. He had all the boxes
Very
ticked,
sad.
and yet he was running
Sad,
on
yeah.
empty, emotionally empty. So he went with the only option left him in the end, and he took his own life. And when I loved him, and when you get your sense of identity
Yes.
and your sense of well-being from
Yeah.
someone else.
Yeah.
And these are our primary caregivers, and a
Yeah.
lot of the time
Yeah.
that's who we get them from, and then we shift it from them onto the partner.
Mm.
So when your sense of well-being comes from how much you please someone else or how much someone else likes you or whatever, it's the road to no town.
And the little patterns, and they're repeated and repeated.
It's not sustainable. So that was the turning point for me because when my father died, I really realised that that what I had thought would fulfil my life would be not consciously but subconsciously I wanted to please them.
Yes, of course.
Maybe now they'll like me, or if I had abjectly failed because I didn't.
Well, that's how you felt.
have a career.
That's how you felt. You
I failed
felt you had
everything.
failed. Actually, separating reality from how you felt is probably quite a tricky thing to do.
Local Women Magazine presents Local Women Podcast, the show for things that matter.
So the death of your father obviously was a huge trauma and something that thankfully I've never been through. What did you do next? How did you change your life?
Well, I had already been 3 years into 12-step recovery.
Yes.
Because of my dad's drinking. His drinking got me to make changes in my life.
And you were drinking?
No.
No,
No. He was. I was drinking. I was drinking the way everybody was drinking. My
Yes.
father was drinking to excess
Yes.
at that stage, and I tried to get him to go to AA, to Alcoholics Anonymous.
Yeah.
And on that journey, it introduced me to Al-Anon, which is for 12-step recovery for family and friends of people who are drinking. So that's what changed my life. When I went there, and people were actually talking about their emotions.
Yes.
They were telling the truth about their emotions, and it was okay to be sad, miserable, angry. You were able to express your feelings. So that
was a release for you.
3 years before Daddy died, I was already doing that, because I do believe that when Daddy did die, that if I hadn't had that under my belt, it would have been a much worse experience. Now, I'm not minimizing it. It was awful, but so then I was 10 years in 12-step recovery altogether, but that opened the door to the emotion. That's where the door opened for emotions. And then I wanted to help people, because I had been in so much pain, and I actually did a course in counselling. But I was just sitting there listening to people's stories, and I thought, I can't do this. I really couldn't do it. So I met a life coach one day. And
when was this? Like, what kind of time?
I'll give you a laugh. It was about, it was probably, my father was dead about 5 years at that stage. And I was in a dating group. And this girl who organised the dating group organised a workshop.
Yeah.
So I went to the workshop, and here was this life coach. And I said,
Did you know what a life coach was?
No, nobody knew what a life coach was then. This is before electric, you know. This is this is probably about 25 years ago.
Right, so we're at the end of the 90s. For those of you who are not from Northern Ireland, we maybe weren't the most advanced of nations.
No.
You know, like Northern Ireland in the 1990s was, I mean, it was a great place for us to live, but yeah, it was a little bit backward, maybe would be the best way.
I mean, we essentially had curfew.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, that's what it was like. So when this girl said, I said, what is a life coach? And she said, I help people set goals and move forward.
Yeah.
And I went, that's what
Bingo,
I want to do.
that's what I need to do.
That's it. That's what I want to do. Very shortly afterwards, I did a life coaching course. I did 3 of them. You need to be, you know, that's how I do things.
I'm seeing that in you, yes, the sort of extreme. It's all or nothing with you, isn't it? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I really wanted to be good at it, and I did that, and then I did a course on NLP, neuro-linguistic programming.
Right, what's that?
And it's how the mind works.
Right, okay.
Okay, it's very, very powerful.
Yes.
Understanding how the mind works and how we respond to the world based on not how the world is,
yes,
but how we see the world.
Which are 2 very different things.
Yes, we don't see the world, we perceive the world.
Exactly.
Through the lens of our previous experiences.
Right, yes.
You see?
Yes.
So the example I'll give is when people come to my home and they are my clients, and I'll say, I have a beautiful window, panoramic,
yes,
floor to ceiling, and people look out, and the American looks out and goes, oh my God, it's so green. How'd you get it so green? The farmer looks out and goes, who owns that land? The gardener looks out and says, did you do that yourself? Did you landscape that yourself? The hill walker looks out and says, have you ever been to the top of Donard?
I would look at it and say, this house is very hard to heat. And probably, yeah, I think that is what I think. I think it's very hard to heat that with that big window. That's what I think.
So we don't see the world.
We don't.
We perceive the world based on our previous experiences. Yeah. And there was a woman, and the view is breathtaking. And there was a woman who came one time and she said, oh my God, it must be awful for you living here. So the curiosity, immediately I thought, what is she seeing?
She was seeing loneliness, isolation.
She saw a pig farm. She
Oh.
said, is that a pig farm over
Ugly.
there? And I went, actually, it is a pig farm.
Pigs are nice though, but she thought they were ugly. Right, okay.
She said, I'm a vegetarian.
Oh gosh, right, okay.
So she was
Right.
using her experience of being a vegetarian to, she didn't see the mountains.
No, she
didn't
saw
see the...
a slaughterhouse.
Yes. You see? So we do not see the world, we perceive the world. And when you know that, that's step 1. And step 2 is when you can start to change.
Because your perceptions could be entirely wrong.
Well, of course.
Right?
You see?
Yes.
So people come to me who are in pain.
Or very skewed. Very skewed.
Well, say for example, my father's death.
Yeah.
So when my father died, what did I feel? I looked at the experience of the death through the lens of, I'm not good enough, guilty.
I could have done something to stop this. I think people think this whenever somebody else commits suicide. They think, I could have done something to stop this. This is my fault. Whereas other people might say, well, at least he's at peace now, and, you know.
Yeah. So when 9/11 happened,
Yeah.
the angry people got angry, the
Yeah.
scared people got scared, the guilty people felt guilty. You do life through your experience of life.
Gosh, yes, of course.
So that's how I can help people.
Yes.
Because I help people reframe their perception of life.
Yeah.
So instead of thinking, when I was 11 years of age, I failed 11 plus, so therefore I'm stupid. So then they look at life through the stupid lens, and they can never get past that. So I can help people to reframe how they
Whereas
see.
you could say, isn't it really good that I failed the 11 plus, because then I went to this other really amazing school and I was top of the class, and it
There
was
you
brilliant. Yeah.
So in that moment, your belief system about yourself changes.
Reframing.
And you stop.
Yeah.
That's right. It's totally about reframing. And you stop looking at life through the lens of, I can't do this. I can never ask for promotion. I can never go after what I want. If I want to be a singer, if I want to be...
We were actually just before we came onto the podcast, we were talking with my producer Robin's wife came in, and she's a singing teacher. So then the conversation led to, could we be singers, me at 50 and you at
68.
68? Could we become singers? And Pauline went, yeah, of course you could. So
You
then
see?
we looked at each other and went, maybe we could become singers.
You see, so
Yes.
because we can look, I look at the world and go, I can do anything.
Delusional. I'm slightly delusional, but is that okay?
I will
Is it
challenge you
delusional?
on that.
Yeah,
I
do
will
cha-
challenge you. Are you delusional, or are you open to anything?
And is it okay to be? Is it?
See, someone else has told you you're delusional.
Well, I
or someone
suppose
else
that's
has
because
said
that's
that
the
is
whole
a delusional thought.
That's the whole TikTok thing, isn't it? Delulu.
Okay.
Delulu is the
Okay.
Salulu. That's what they
Yes.
say.
Yes,
That's what they
yes,
say.
yes, yes.
And it's sort of a way of thinking, if you're slightly delusional, life's better. And of course it is.
Life is always how you see it.
And it's okay to be slightly delusional. Great. Because I always say, I've said this to Frank Mitchell on U105, someday I might win an Oscar. Now, I'm not an actress, but I could be.
But what is an actress? You know, you say, I am not an
I
actress.
actually fully...
What if you said,
okay,
I am an actress?
I actually fully believe that someday I might win an Oscar.
There you go.
I've not... Now, I don't think I'm going to win a Grammy, but I think I will win an Oscar.
If you put your mind to it and you set the intention and you followed a certain set of instructions, you could get an Oscar.
I think so. I've said this to Robin as well, who's behind the camera there, haven't I? I've said to you, yep, he's nodding. I've said this to you that I think I might win an Oscar.
If you put your mind to it.
You heard it here, yeah.
If that's why we say that. If you put your mind to it. So it depends on what you're doing in your mind. And one of the things you do is, the first thing you do is you get the feeling of being. There you go.
The feeling of hope. This is very much stuff that your granny would have told you, isn't it? You can be whatever you want to be. And, you know that sort of, I guess we called it back in the day positive thinking, or, now it's all affirmations, but like this is the kind of stuff that my granny told me. You're a great wee girl. You can be whatever you want to be. If you want to be a barrister or a lawyer, you can do that. It's not that much different from that. When did we stop believing?
Well, I think that what we've done is we've got caught in the information age.
Yeah. Yes.
And we were talking about this yesterday, and we were saying about. Somebody said that something awful had happened somewhere in China, and it took the news 6 weeks to get here. So we were talking, I can't remember the exact circumstances, but compare that now that you can turn on your phone and see atrocities right there. So
which is better? Are we better off not knowing? I
Really,
often wonder this.
Our minds aren't built to.
And
We're overstimulated.
And I'm very much a news junkie. I mean, I love the news. I put it on first thing. I love it. I love finding out about news. Oh, yes, of course. I'm a newsreader. I love the news. But then would I be any better or worse off, like not knowing about some awful thing that's happened in
suggest you
Venezuela?
Be a lot better off. I suggest stop watching the news. Stop listening to the news. Stop watching the news. Your mind takes it all in and makes pictures. If I said to you, think about your son.
Yeah.
If I said to you, now think about your son, you'll notice that there's a picture of your son comes into your mind.
Yeah.
So your son's not here. So your mind creates that, okay?
Yeah.
So when you listen to the news or watch the news, you make up all those pictures in your mind, and it overstimulates your mind, and your mind can't process that. So you're wearing out your own mind, and it would be much better for you to think about being an actress.
Winning an Oscar.
Winning an Oscar,
yes.
if that's what you want to do.
I guess,
so
again, we're bogging ourselves down with negativity and not focusing on positivity.
Exactly.
I mean, it's quite simple.
Yes.
But why do we make such a meal of this? Deirdre, I could talk to you all day. I feel like we've settled the world here. So
Yes.
briefly give me a couple of things that I can do every day to make myself feel happier.
Well, the very first thing you do is you take control of your day.
Yes.
By setting your intention at the beginning of the day.
How do you do that?
You write it down.
On a piece of paper?
Morning. You have a piece of paper and you write it down and you say, I am so happy and grateful.
What did you put today? Do you mind me asking?
What I did this morning was I am so happy and grateful now that I have a great day at U105. I was there with Frank this morning. That I get everything done that I want to do and that I enjoy anything that shows up. So that covers it.
Right.
You don't have to be specific.
Right, okay. So you put that on your list today, right, okay.
And then I have, this part of the stress solution system is a daily practice for 10 lines. So 10 lines of the page, I write I am.
Yeah.
And whatever you write after I am, you are. So I am happy, I am healthy, I am funny, I am loved, I am powerful.
I'm a great singer.
I am a singer. That's where you started.
Yes.
I am a singer. I am an actress.
Yeah.
I am. So I will do that. And it really, really, I mean, we could go on.
Like
it
that.
activates you. It's a biological.
Well, it gets you going, doesn't it? It gets you going.
Yeah. It gets the chemicals going in your body. So I do that. And I'm very grateful for everything that has happened as if it's already happened. So I've set my sat nav. I've set my emotional GPS.
Yeah.
Okay. So do that. And then really start to think about what would I love? What would you love your life to look like? Yeah. How do you want to be in the world?
Yeah.
Okay. That's step 2. And the third one, which is key. This is key. Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled.
Tell me about that.
So now you're a singer. In your mind, you want to be a singer.
Yeah.
The way you do it
or
is
an actress.
An actress. So there you are, you're getting your Oscar.
Thank you, everybody.
There you go. Yeah. So in your mind, you use your mind to make the picture.
Yeah.
Then that sends a signal to the body and feel the feeling. Actually feel that feeling.
I'm feeling
now
it.
You've gotten the Oscar. You're being given it.
I'm feeling it.
Okay. You're essentially giving your body the blueprint.
Yeah.
So then you will start, something will happen. Someone will say to you, oh, I know somebody who does acting, or something will happen. How did I get here? Because I set my intention every day that I want to evolve as my best self so that others may do the same. Yeah. I want to get this message out here, out to the world. Yeah. Okay? I have known the pain and now I'm having the fun. And I want other people to do that. Okay? So how did this all happen? There is a synchronicity to life.
There is a synchronicity to life. And I think the older you get, the more you realise it. Maybe younger listeners won't quite see it yet. But there is a lovely way. What is it my mum used to always say? Things have a funny way of working out.
And that's sacred synchronicity. It's the nod from the universe. It's the nod from life. It's the nod from God. How have we ended up here? I set this intention. I probably set this intention about 6 months ago. I said, I watched some of your stuff and thinking, I really like that woman. We would have good crack.
Yeah. And I knew you a bit through U105.
Yes.
Because I would be on U105 doing news. You're on with Frank. Yeah. I know Frank too. Yeah. And I did look at her and think, I kind of stole her from Frank Mitchell. Because I thought, there's a woman that I like. So I got in touch and then just things.
You see, and that's how, so whatever it is you want, birth it in your mind first. And then set your intention. Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. I'm excited now because I know it's all done.
Yeah.
It's all done.
Also, the one thing I would say to people is, don't be scared just to ask, just to put yourself out there.
Always ask.
Always ask, just ask.
Always ask. And don't die with your music still in you.
And on that note, do you see what I did there? So, how do we get in touch with you? If people want to talk to you, how do they get in touch with you?
DeirdreMaguire.com.
That's her website. Don't forget, on a Monday, you're on with Frank Mitchell.
Monday with Frank. And
what's it called?
Mindset
Mastery Monday on U105 with Frank Mitchell. Definitely tune into that.
Absolutely.
Follow you on social media. Thank you so much for being here today, Deirdre. This has been absolutely wonderful, and I hope people take something away from this.
Absolutely.
And I hope that we can all just be just a little bit happier.
There you go. Thanks a million, Kim. Loved it.
Local Women Magazine presents Local Women Podcast, the show for things that matter.